Good morning, reflectors.
Good morning.
Welcome and welcome back to Morning Intentions. It is Reflection Friday. We're going to finish up with our last two questions of our unhealthy helping questionnaire that we've been going through in Too Much by Terry Cole. We didn't want to leave this week without finishing those questions simply because they give such great insight if codependency is showing up in our lives. Normally, if someone just says, "Are you codependent?" our instant reaction may be, "No, I don't think so." But then when we look at different questions that point to different angles of codependency, it can become easier to spot it when it's showing up. Our second to the last question is, do I encourage independence or dependence through my helping? Now, Annette, you're going to have to explain that one to me because it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense?
Well, I guess in theory.
Well, what does that mean to you? Let's start there. What does it mean to you?
To me, what it means is that we only give so much, so people are kind of required to come back and ask for more help.
No, that's not.
Okay, so that's why I don't get what this means. So as a resident codependent, I feel so awful saying that, especially when I'm saying we should just move on. I want you to move on. I don't want you to live your life as the resident codependent.
But isn't it nice that I have a little hindsight so that if there's someone who is how I used to be, they might maybe hear themselves in the words that I say and see themselves in the words that I say? I'm fine with it.
Okay, as long as you're not getting your feelings hurt every time that comes up,
No.
I'll allow it.
No.
Please explain this to me, because I just think then that means we're only giving, like we would give people just enough to get started, but then they always would have to run back to us to ask for more help, and it could be to keep them hanging on so we have the connection, so they are.
Well, that sounds sinister to me. Like, oh.
I know, that's what this sounds like, so I'm not sure what they mean. I don't think it's meant to be sinister, but I think it could.
No, that's not what this
way.
is saying at all. And maybe you'd have to be a high-functioning codependent to understand this. So what this is saying is when you're helping and you find yourself helping, you insert yourself into the equation of the helping, and then you're needed. And this is an unconscious way of showing up. You do not know you're doing it. An example would be, let's say you had a teenager who had to take some medications. You're trying to help your teenager to become independent. That's in your mind, actually. You want your teenager to be able to live a life that they can fly out of the nest and go, however they're going to go. But you do it in such a way, it's like, okay, now let me know when you're out of your medication and I'll make sure that I stop by the pharmacy and get it for you. So you've overstepped, even though your intention was to help them to be independent, even though your intention was to help them thrive. When you're codependent, you do too much. Remember, that's the whole title of this book.
Too much.
So that you then insert yourself some way where then they're kind of depending on you. But I really want to make it clear that wasn't your intention. I have not met a high-functioning codependent that was trying to keep people strung along with them so that they were needed. But you do organize it in such a way so that you are needed. And it could be, and for a number of reasons. Number one, you don't think that the other person has the capabilities to do it, and you want to make sure it's done right, and you want to make sure that they don't take the wrong medication, so you're going to do it. So it can come from a very pure heart. Or it could be because you're so used to taking care and doing all of this that you don't know that it's okay to pass the baton. And I think that comes up a lot. It's okay to pass the baton. Now, I'm going to share kind of a real personal story here. So Don is a lot older than I am. I see with him he could very easily, and in fact, I do see it starting in some ways, but we try to be very open about these things. But it could be very easy for Don to start just letting me do everything for him. Just like I talked about a few weeks ago, like, oh, okay, I'll go do his eyeglasses for him. But I have said to Don, I want you to be as independent as possible for as long as possible. So it takes that intentionality. I don't know how I would be handling Don because we have a large age difference. I've known him since I was a teenager. I don't want Don to suffer. I want Don to be safe. I want Don to have all the good things. So it would be very, very easy for me to just now take over. But I'm intentionally saying, Don, this is something you can do. Do you feel confident in doing it? He will sometimes say, no, I don't. And then I try to give him tools so that he does continue to feel confident. Sometimes I think to myself, well, it'd just be easier if I just did the whole thing. But that's where you get into high functioning codependency, because then I would be taking care of all my responsibilities and then I would be taking care of Don's responsibilities too.
And then he would be dependent on you.
Yes. So, but this takes awareness. It takes intentionality. But the point I want to make with this one is, so let's say I did have this realization is like, well, why am I doing this? Don could be doing this. Let's say I did do that. It wasn't that I was trying to make Don dependent on me. It wasn't. The high functioning codependent, they're not perfect people, but they're also not sinister. Because what are they trying to do? They're trying to help. So does that clear it up for you?
Yeah, and I think it does get into the final question. Am I enabling or helping?
Yes, it does get into the final question.
I think there are many times where the helping leads into that dependence and enabling. But like you're saying, it's not sinister. And the way I took this, like, well, can sound like it can be kind of sinister, but I also know it's not. But it's just the helping gets out of control. It becomes too much. And then it goes from helping to, in a way, I'll do it for you.
Well, is
that accurate?
Well, okay, so I'm going to use different words and just make sure that we're saying it correctly. It's not as though there's this ulterior motive in our high functioning codependency helping in order to make these other people in our life need us. What it is we love them. We want them to have a nice life. And we don't know where we stop and they begin. That part is blurred for us. And so as children get older, we need to learn, okay, they can stand on their own 2 feet. As our spouse might be aging, we say, okay, is this something that I really do legitimately need to help them with? Which, of course, that's what love does. Or am I taking something and then robbing them of their independence? It's not sinister, but what we will always say when we coach is enabling is not love. But the unfortunate part is we enable unconsciously. So that's where hopefully our discussions will start bringing in the book itself, will start bringing awareness, because enabling is not love. And in many ways, when we're high functioning codependent, as much as, kind of pains me to even think about this, high functioning codependency is not loving. But we think it's the ultimate loving.
Well, it sounds a lot like that saying, if you want a job done right, do it yourself. And you're caring for someone or you're caring about someone and you love them and you want them to be happy. You want them to have the best life that they can. So the caring gets a little out of hand and it becomes, well, if I want the care to be done right or the love to be done right, I'll do it myself. So I know that the person I love and care about is cared about in the best way possible.
Because, and this is like we have said, but I'm going to say it again, because if you're new to high functioning codependency and you're just figuring out that this might be something that you have been struggling with, the kicker there is we think we're the only ones who could actually do it right for them. Not because we think we're so perfect, just because we think we know. And what we have to learn is it's okay to allow other people to stumble and fall. It's okay to choose ourselves and our own health and well-being and allow others to rise up within themselves and be responsible for themselves. I mean, Terry Cole tells this story on the next page, on page 43 here in this book, where she's at the hair salon and she's not thinking that it's being organized correctly. And it's a fancy dancy hair salon in New York City. And she thinks she knows better than the management how to manage the place. And so she's getting all nervous inside while she's waiting. And she's thinking, why aren't they helping the people? Why are they making the people wait so late? Terry Cole needs to stay in her lane. We need to know what's our side of the street and what is somebody else's side of the street. And that's the most loving thing we can do. And one more thing before we go, since this is a reflection. So with this story about Terry Cole at the beauty salon, Terry Cole robbed herself of an enjoyable experience at the hair salon because she's trying to orchestrate something that's none of her damn business. And she robs herself of the experience of just enjoying the hair salon. And that's what we do as high-functioning codependents. That's why I love sharing this, because how many of us have robbed ourselves of enjoyable weekends, enjoyable holidays, enjoyable vacations? Why am I saying we rob ourselves? Because we're stuck in this unconscious pattern and we don't know what we're doing to ourselves. What we're doing here on Morning Intentions is bringing awareness so that we can see not only are we enabling other people, and that isn't loving, but number two, we're robbing ourselves of our joy. We don't need to do that anymore. And when we stop doing that, we'll be able to show up better, not in a codependent way, but in an authentic, loving, kind, respectful way. Because we'll know what it means to stay in our lane, and we will.
So our intention for today and for this weekend is, I will notice when I'm on someone else's side of the street and get back on my side of the street. I will notice when I'm on someone else's side of the street and get back on my side of the street. Thank you so much for joining us today and this week. Our day is better because you are part of our day. See you Monday.
See you then.